Holistic connection. Let's heal. Holistic connection. Let's learn. Holistic connection. Let's grow. Holistic connection. Let's be real.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And today my guest is Michelle. I want to welcome you, Michelle, and I will ask you to explain who you are and what you do and how you are involved in the holistic healing world, please.
Amazing. Thank you. So good to meet you. Thank you for
Yes, you
inviting me to be
too.
a part of your podcast.
Absolutely.
So happy to be here. So my name is Michelle, and I am an Akashic practitioner, Akashic channeler. I have been working with the Akashic records for about 15 years, and I have done probably over 500 readings. And I just absolutely love it. And I always tell my clients before I open their records, I never know what's going to come in a session. I never know what's going to come through. It
Yeah.
can be past life information, it can be physical healing, it can be passed over loved ones. So I never know what's going to come through. So every single session is different, and
Yeah.
every single session is just filled with joy and love and a lot of tears. The session I had yesterday, I was in tears because it was so
Oh,
beautiful and moving. And I feel so grateful to be able to be the conduit for somebody's experience and into the Akashic Records.
yeah, absolutely. So, for those who might not know what the Akashic Records are or never heard of that term, can you please explain that, what that is?
Absolutely. So the Akashic records are sort of on par with Source and the All That Is, and it's just sort of like the information of who you are as a soul and everything you've experienced as a soul along your journey and everything that potentially is yours to experience along this path in your journey. So it's really accessing everything. And within your records, you have your spirit guides, the guides of the records, your crossover loved ones,
Mm.
past lives, your current path, future path, potentials. There's so much in there. So it really is basically source.
Wow, yeah. So, how did you first become interested in doing this work?
That's a good question. So I have always been very intuitive and very in tune, and I was really born into this.
Mm,
I have very early memories of being 4 months old. Well, I have this very vivid memory, and I explained it to my dad, and he was like, "You were 4 months old. How is that possible? You have that
yeah.
memory." But I came through with this very strong consciousness of like, I've been here before. I know who I am, and what am I doing in this tiny baby body? This is crazy.
Yeah.
And I was furious as a baby. I couldn't believe that I was back in this tiny body. So I always had this conscious awareness. And then as I got older, you just get more into life. And then I started having really intense, like poltergeist situations.
Mm,
And that plagued me for years. And then one day I was like, okay, I've had enough. And I literally like yelled into my bedroom. I was like, enough. If you want me to work with you, we're going to do this on my terms. And
yeah.
and I was like, I'm going to the bookstore and you tell me what book I need to get that is going to help me like deal with all of this. And so I went to this old bookstore in LA called the Bodhi Tree Bookstore, and it was a huge bookstore of nothing but spiritual books, and it was incredible. So,
Yeah.
and they're not open anymore physically. It could
Okay.
just be online now. But so I went to the bookstore, and the very first book I saw, like immediately, the first book I saw was on the Akashic Records.
Mm,
And I'm like,
okay.
that's too easy. We can't, that's can't be that easy.
But you asked.
Yes, I asked. So I spent hours like walking through the whole store, like pulling books off the shelf, looking at this and that, reading backs and covers, and
Yeah,
then eventually came back around to that very first book.
sure.
And I was like, okay, all right, I hear you. This is the one. So I bought it, took it home, read it. It it just really ignited something in me that felt so like deeply connected and
Yeah.
true and authentic. So I immediately signed up for a weekend course to learn how to do this.
Hmm.
And it completely changed my life in ways I had no idea. And then the poltergeist stopped.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
was able to connect and communicate with all the spirits that were around me and use that in my work and
Yeah.
people.
Nice. So you do private sessions, of course, and
Yes.
you teach workshops and you lead healing circles. So do you want to talk about the different things that you do and what those are like and what your clients can expect from those different things?
Sure, absolutely. So I have taught several workshops, and I love teaching workshops when people are impaired so that they can work on each other.
Okay. Yeah.
And I always say that anyone can learn the Akashic records. And I feel like I've had 100% success with every person
Nice.
I've taught. And I've had my clients go on to become professional Akashic readers as well too.
Mhm.
And that is incredible because
Yeah.
the more of us out there doing this work, the more healing is anchored into the planet. But I love teaching and I usually do it over like a 3 day, I think
Okay.
4 hours a day. So it's like baby steps through the records and how to work with them and different aspects of working with the records, like how to read for yourself, how to read for someone else, how to do physical healing, how to do connecting with, like as medium type work, how to connect
Hmm.
with past over loved ones, how to connect with animals, how to connect with plants or crystals or anything you can connect with and open the records of any living thing possible. So I've done readings for plants, for animals.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So
So
anyone
amazing.
it is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's such a gift. I mean, all if you can access and tune into source, there is really so much accessible for us.
Yeah. So will people come to you and ask for a specific service, or are they asking for clarity on something and then you kind of see which service or what's going to come up? How do you make that distinction, or are they coming to you asking specifically for things?
So that is a good question.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have people asking for specific questions and information.
Okay.
I always let them know ahead of time that I don't really control the session. I am
Yeah.
just a conduit that is channeling their guides, and their guides always know what is in alignment with their best and highest good. So whether it is past life, yesterday I had a session with a gal, and she wanted to access her past life and know how it was affecting her current life. She
Hmm.
didn't have anything specific in mind. So I let her know, like, look, this may not come through. It may be something completely different. It may just be something that your guides feel you need to work on now that is
Yeah.
going to serve you better. And lo and behold, immediately her past life came through, and it was exactly what she needed to
Oh,
receive and that message. And it was so beautiful and kind and loving and supportive, and really answered a lot of questions for her. So I never know what's going to come through. And I always
yeah.
tell people, as long as you're open, uh,
Yeah.
we'll just see together what's going to come through. And people are always really happy. And a lot of times I find that the questions that they come to me with are not even necessarily the questions we end up addressing,
Yeah.
because the guides come through and they're like, no, 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 we're going to deal with this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can really see that happening because I think a lot of times, so I am formally a hypnotherapist, and the same kind of thing would happen is they come to you for this issue and really it's this issue, but that will also help to resolve the issue that they were coming to me for, but it's usually something deeper, you know.
Yeah.
And they're only aware of the surface level sort of symptoms of that, you know. So I get that for sure. So you mentioned plants and animals, so I'm just curious as to how that's different for you than working on people, compared to working on animals? Or are you channeling for, like when we're talking about plants, are you channeling for the plants? Or so how does that work with the plants and the animals compared to humans?
Good question. So I've only done, I want to say one reading on a plant.
Okay,
But I have done multiple readings on pets.
sure.
One of the sweetest readings I did, a woman had asked me to check in with her turtle. She had this very old, ancient tortoise that was living in her backyard,
Oh,
and she wanted me to check in with him. And his energy was so incredibly sweet and loving and kind. And he showed me his setup and what it looked like in the yard and explained everything to me. And it was very sweet. Animals and plants are just as accessible. I just don't really have that many people asking me for that. But
right.
their energy comes through just as clear and just as vivid and yeah, and accessible.
Yeah,
It's
that's so
beautiful.
sweet. That's
It's
so
so
sweet.
sweet.
Yeah. So when you do a session for the plant, was it one of your own that was maybe having issues and you were like trying to figure out what was going on with it, or how did that happen that you were able to do that for or on or with a plant?
So it was actually in Peru,
Oh,
yes, and I was visiting this woman, and she had this plant growing on her property, and it was a black orchid, and she wanted me to connect with this black orchid and to receive divine information from it for her. And because it was a rare plant that was growing there, and she was like, this just came from nowhere. So she
yeah.
asked me to connect with it. And it showed me the connection to its heart center. And it showed me the shape of its heart center that was like a heart. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It was like I downloaded all of this kind of, it was really wild. So I downloaded this kind of galactic information from this flower, this plant in
Hmm.
Peru. And she was completely astounded. And then she showed me how the same plant had flowered before, and she cut it open, and the heart was exactly the way I had described it to her,
Wow.
that it had showed me. So it was really an incredible gift. And then I went back years later and visited her again, and she had forgotten who I was, but she remembered that there was a person who read her plants
Yeah.
and connected that had been me, and it was like this beautiful like reconnecting with us over that. Really a cool experience.
Yeah. So did you know that you would be able to, or did she ask you to and you said, well, I'll try?
Yes, exactly. I said, well, I'll try.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. And I had no idea that it was possible or that I would receive the information that I did. So that was a gift
Yeah.
for me to experience as well.
Yeah, and that makes sense though, doesn't it? I mean, it makes sense. To me, it
Why
makes sense.
not?
I'm sure it makes sense to you, but yeah, it's like, why not? It's we don't think of it because they're not like mammals, but yeah, or even, a turtle. But
Yes,
yeah.
turtle.
And how special I love that. I love that so much.
It
Yeah,
was
that's great.
really sweet experience for
Yeah.
sure.
I was thinking I mean, I love houseplants. I've got them all over, and and a lot of times, like something's going on with one, and I can't figure it out. And so that's where my mind went. It's like, are you tuning in with a plant that you have that wasn't doing well, or
I
that's
need
a
to be, I need to do that because I have plants here that are not thriving. So I need to connect with them.
yeah. What do you need? Yeah, talk to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can help
Yes.
you.
It's so
So,
funny because I find that I don't really use this channeling in my own life. Like
mm,
I will jump to help anybody, but when it comes to my own life or my own stuff, I'm
yeah,
like, oh, I'll just figure it out the old-fashioned way.
yeah, yeah. Unless somebody asked you, and then they're like, oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of all of that, what are the misconceptions or misunderstandings that potential clients come to you with?
Oh, let's see. I think a lot of times I have clients who've never had an Akashic Records reading and they're not sure what it is or what to expect. So I think it's mainly that people just have not experienced what an Akashic Records session is and what to expect. And um, I have had people who are deeply religious reach out to me for readings. And I had a guy actually a few months ago reach out to me for a reading. We did his reading. It was incredible. He was so happy. And he sent his family members and his
Oh,
friends, his whole circle started coming to me for readings. And then he called me and he was like, "Can we just have a talk?" And I'm like, "Of course." And he's like, "I'm really nervous because what you're doing is not in the Bible. And
mm,
I'm a very religious person, and I am worried that I am sinning by getting a reading from you." And I was like, this is really great that we're having this conversation.
yeah,
I think this is super important. And I explained to him that when I'm channeling, it is divine, it is love, it is heart-centered,
yeah,
it is for the person's best and highest good. There is, because he was worried it was like demonic or other,
yeah,
and I had to explain to him that this is God, that God is imbued in all things, and that doing this work really is in alignment with being who Jesus, was and
yeah,
wants people to be, that it's not demonic and scary and otherworldly, but it
yeah,
is divine. And I've had other people actually who are very religious who have had readings with me and then tell me afterwards that they felt like it was in alignment with God
yeah,
and with their beliefs, and that it wasn't, what people think of witchcraft or something,
mhm,
what we've all been demonized for
yeah.
our gifts, and now they're realizing that those gifts actually are in alignment with purity of love.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that part of proof of that is how they felt afterwards or how they felt during. I think that if anything was part of something demonic, it would feel that way. It would feel dark and heavy,
Yes.
So, and I'm sure that everybody, like you said, he sent everybody on his circle over to you too. So
Yes.
obviously it was a good thing. And speaking of that, you do have a bunch of testimonials on your website. So we'll mention your website. It's inneralchemywithmichelle.com. And we'll have that link in the description below as well. But you've got a ton of testimonials on there for anybody who's interested in hearing how this has worked for other people. Um, so, are you working with people mainly online, or is it in person, or both, or how does that work?
So 100% over the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I've even done readings for neighbors who live on the same block as me, and I do it over the phone.
Okay.
Because I want to have a complete uninterrupted connection to source without any like preconceived notions about what the person looks like in front of me, who they are, how they're reacting to what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I just want to be completely like in my own space. And usually my eyes are closed. I'm holding these crystals and I'm just tuned in. And I have clients all over the world, and I don't want to know what they look like. I don't want to know how they present. I just want to give them information that is so crystal clear and clean and connected to their soul,
Yeah.
purpose, and who they are without any preconceived ideas of how they present. So I think
Yeah.
it helps to just be on the phone. Yeah, and I have to
Yeah.
describe that a lot to people because they want Zoom or they want in person, but
Yeah.
for me, it's better to just be connected with spirit.
Yeah, and I've heard other types of readers say that their friends and their family want them to do readings on them. And it's like, I would rather not know somebody and not have any kind of preconception or preconceived ideas or thoughts or understanding of the person and rather just go in completely raw. So it sounds like that's similar to how you feel about this. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. I like to know. I never look anybody up. I don't want
Yeah.
anything about who they are. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
I do readings for people that I know.
Okay.
Always surprised that stuff comes through that has, I would have no
That you
idea.
didn't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, in my day-to-day connection with them. Yeah, because spirit is so fully embodied that we just
Yeah.
know everything.
Yeah, so much more than just this world, this, what's in front of us. And that
Yeah.
kind of just really shows that too. What you know about your friends or your family, other stuff came through that just like it's not what you would have known from knowing them. So yeah, that's really interesting. So even your healing circles, are you doing those in person and how is that different?
So
Or
those I
even,
haven't done in quite a while.
okay,
It's been a few years since I did those, but I
okay.
did those in person and those were incredible. So I taught everyone who came to the circles how to access the Akashic records. And then the whole purpose of the circle was to heal. And there was no, I didn't charge anybody, there was no money exchange, there was
Good.
nothing. It was just if you know someone who's sick, if you know someone who's trying to get pregnant, if you know someone who is in the hospital, if you know someone who's undergoing, a scary life change or needs guidance, like bring their name to the circle, bring their situation to the circle, and all the women would put energy into it. And then we would talk about what we would see and visualize them getting pregnant or whatever was going on.
Yeah,
And then I swear to you, every one of those healings came to fruition. It was incredible. The work
yeah,
that women can do when they get together is powerful,
yeah,
powerful. So I was so grateful to have, I started that group, but I just considered myself to be a part of the group, right? Because we're
yeah.
all working together. And it was an incredible experience. And I would love to keep doing that because, man, we did some really big healings.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, women are powerful, and especially when you get a bunch of women together.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
unstoppable.
sort of channel that energy around. That's great. Where is the best place for people to reach you? And we did mention your website, but if you want to mention it again and any other socials or anything that you want to mention.
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is through my website, Inner Alchemy with Michelle.
Okay.
.com.
Yeah.
And I have an Instagram, but I don't really use it. I need to be better about doing social networking. So I'm terrible at social media, and I know I need to put myself out there. So I'm super proud of you for doing that. It's not easy. So probably my website is the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And yeah, and we'll put that link down below. And whether you're listening or watching, it'll be in the show notes or in the description. So, is there anything else that you would like to make sure that people know, or anything else you'd like to share before we end this today?
Yes. So, one thing I really like to share with people is that healing is very real. And a lot of times we are stuck in trauma and we are stuck in cycles that we don't know how to break free of or get out of. Or sometimes we're stuck in cycles that were created before this life. And we don't know why we're still stuck in the same cycle. And being able to access those circumstances within the Akashic records really does allow for deep, true healing. I can't even tell you the number of times where I have seen past life deaths and past life traumas that are still causing aches and pains and emotional distress and bad habits. And the person isn't even aware of why this is sitting in them because you can't access it. You do regular therapy and you're meditating, you're doing all the things to heal yourself, but there's something that's just not moving. And being able to access your records really does allow for a deep, true, beautiful healing that it just lights your soul up and it really validates and gives people a sense of hope of who they are and that, relief and joy is possible.
Yeah, yeah, so nice. So nice. People need to know that it's possible to heal. Even if they feel like they've tried everything, it's important to know that it's still possible, that you don't have to just sit with this pain or, whether it's emotional or physical or whatever's going on. Yeah, you don't need to stay there, that it is possible to heal. So yeah,
Energy is powerful.
very,
You can move
very,
a lot with it.
yeah. So thank you so much, Michelle, for being my guest today. So much information and in such a little time. So everybody, please visit her website and find out more. So thanks once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pamela, for having me on today. I really enjoyed connecting with you and connecting with your audience.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.